please do not even compare me with Ajay sir for his seniority, for a man he is. We were kids. We grew up watching his films, and he was our very own action superstar then and even now.
इंडस्ट्री में रहकर जिसने इंडस्ट्री में सबसे ज़्यादा फिल्में की हैं अलग अलग प्रोड्यूसर्स के लिए और उसकी फिल्में बॉक्स ऑफिस पे पिटी नहीं है, सबने पैसे कमाए हैं, वो मेरे दिमाग में सिर्फ एक ही आदमी का नाम आता है, वो है आकी.
Every Delhi boy, if you ask them, to be very honest, subconsciously they know they are in this industry because of Mr. Shahrukh Khan.
अच्छा.
Every Delhi boy.
20 years back जब ओरिजिनल जुड़वा रिलीज हुई थी तब इंटरनेट टेक्नोलॉजी ये सब नहीं था, सोशल मीडिया नहीं था. सलमान खान तब भी स्टार थे, अभी स्टार है, अभी और भी बड़े स्टार हैं.
I truly believe Aamir is a game changer, and I think many of his decisions have made him pioneer the movement of great and yet mainstream cinema.
When I think about actors who are still known as superstars of Bollywood, I think of a few actors that made their debut in the early 90s. These actors range from Aamir Khan, Shahrukh Khan, Salman Khan, Ajay Devgn and Akshay Kumar. Despite the number of years that have passed, these actors still have an active fan base and guarantee huge opening weekends for their movies, solely based on their association with the project. This type of stardom in Hindi cinema is only seen with the list of actors I have already mentioned, and I think the last individual that can be considered to be of the same league who made his debut in the year 2000 is Hrithik Roshan, the last actor of Hindi cinema that genuinely amassed a large fan following that is still prevalent today. The next generation of actors that made their debuts in the mid-2000s, including Ranbir Kapoor, Ranveer Singh and Shahid Kapoor, do have huge fan followings, but nothing close to the national and global stardom of the older generation of actors that can really be defined as mass in every way. But from the generation of actors that debuted in the early 90s and are still featuring in movie after movie, I wondered in popular discourse or just in film forums, who according to the people can be termed as the best actor. I really thought about this because all the actors that I spoke about are stars in their own rights, but who really fits the definition of an actor in its truest form? A fact that cannot be even debated about this country and how the film industry functions is that it is a star-led system. Budgets and casting decisions are made dependent on the association of an actor with the project, as it already substantiates in the minds of producers and distributors of the business that it will attract. The statement "story is the hero" sounds good in rhetoric, but when it actually comes to the groundwork of how projects are developed in Hindi cinema, it has to do a lot with the talent involved. Many people were talking about this trend, especially when actors like Rajkumar Rao and Ayushmann Khurrana were gaining commercial notoriety, and how movies like Badhai Ho and Stree would not be possible with the same budgets later anymore, as it basically led to the birth of stars.
I mean, we've had conversations internally saying, okay, film's done well, now we need to find the next person who fits the slot, because this one, I can tell you that a Badhai Ho or a Bareli Ki Barfi cannot be made again, not in the budgets.
That being the nature of the business, I started thinking, what is my criteria of bringing this debate in its entirety? How can I just generally say that one person is a better actor than the other? The title of an actor in my eyes is 1. A person who aims to portray characters with such skill and precision that you through the running minutes of the movie forget about the personality of the individual outside of the film. 2. An actor who makes conscious decisions to do something drastically different from their previous venture. And lastly, 3. Is willing to go leaps and bounds and completely imbibing the character he or she is playing. When you think of the best actors outside of India like Daniel Day-Lewis and Jack Nicholson, or the current generation of actively working actors like Christian Bale and Joaquin Phoenix, one thing that will always strike me is the dedication to the craft of completely immersing themselves in a role, both externally and internally, and the conscious decision to surprise the audience with the choices they make. I cannot even fathom the fact that the same man who played the off-the-hinges Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood is the same man who played Abraham Lincoln 5 years later. I'm still blown away by the fact that one of my favorite Batmans in the Christopher Nolan trilogy is the same man that played Dickie Eklund in The Fighter, Trevor Resnick in The Machinist, and my god, Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. The willingness to completely surrender to the craft is evident when it comes to such artists, but this is not something that Hindi film superstars can really do, as their persona often takes center stage and pragmatically, it isn't a risk worth taking in their eyes. Both Ajay Devgn and Akshay Kumar come from the school of acting where they know how to present themselves in front of camera. They understand the brief from the directors, do not partake in workshops of any kind to assimilate in the world the film is set in, and through sheer experience of working in the industry for so many years, have the capability to make it most of the time look effortless.
I would want to think before the shot starts that how the character would behave and react in a situation like this, and I just become the character. But I am not somebody who can get into the psyche of the character and things like that.
They don't believe in the process of method acting, and their physical appearance through most films stays the same. While there are always exceptions to the rule, like Akshay Kumar's role as the antagonist in 2.0 or Ajay Devgn in movies like Khaki and Kaal sporting really unkempt and rustic get-ups, not at all posed as the desirable leading hero, both actors come from the same school of acting, and this also restricts their ability to surprise you from movie to movie. They will always feature in a film, do a commendable job because they are thorough professionals, but you will not momentarily forget that the individual is playing the role. Salman Khan in my eyes is just different gravy and a category of his own. I think he has the most loyal fan base in this country and there's no two ways about it, as they come storming into the theatre for his most lackluster projects as well. That kind of loyalty is like a toxic marriage, where you know there isn't much effort being made by the spouse, but you persevere to hope that one day he or she surprises you with a date or so. Salman mostly features in movies that celebrate the man outside of the frame of the camera, but rarely, and to our surprise, has the ability to completely floor you with a performance that was totally unprecedented. Films like Sultan and Bajrangi Bhaijaan immediately come to my mind. It makes me think oftentimes that if Salman really put his heart and soul into movies rather than just sleepwalking through most of the running minutes delivering dialogues just to develop hooting and cheering from his fans, there would be genuine curiosity and love from all sectors for his upcoming ventures. I would assume that the man couldn't care less, as he already has an established fan base that he just wants to cater to. Coming to the topic of Shahrukh Khan, what I can say is that the man tries. He tries bloody hard to constantly do something different, but every time he has attempted to do so, attempted to just act like the character, the movie has miserably failed. Fans saw him donning the role of Gaurav Chandna, and I genuinely got frightened by his demonic presence in the film. A film that completely faltered in its screenplay eventually, owing to mounting the movie at a scale that Shahrukh deserved. He attempted to do the same in Zero, but the second half of the film completely turned on his head, challenging even the intelligence of the audience. Shahrukh excelled in his formulaic romantic films in the 90s and mid-2000s and really developed a huge fan following owing to his sheer charm. But the same man who did Dar and Anjam got lost along the way due to the success that he amassed, and the risks that were taken were met with financial failures, making me think that with Pathan, he just wants to get back to his charming badass Don ways so that he can get back to his groove of box office success.
I think I'm going to make the same mistakes I've made the last few years. And I think it's not at all going to teach me anything different. It won't give me any perspective. I mean, I'll be honest. If I got perspective, if I was able to differentiate between good and bad, if I could somewhere realize what I actually should be doing to get it right, I think it'll get so boring. It'll be like a trope.
After taking all of this into account, I think this is why Aamir Khan stands out like a different beast altogether. His contribution to Hindi cinema and the roles he has taken up have always been against the tide and rarely have been bogged down due to his star presence. While the 90s slump and the commercial content that worked in that era was one thing, but to even fathom producing and starring in Lagan was something that was looked down upon and considered to be burning money from a business standpoint.
जब हम वो फिल्में देखते हैं जिसमें हमको लगता है कि यार क्या फिल्म बनाई है, बिमलदा ने क्या फिल्म बनाई है, गुरुदत्त जी ने प्यासा क्या फिल्म बनाई है, हीर रांझा जो पूरी फिल्म बनी है which is in verse, तो चेतन साहब ने and कैफी साहब I think wrote the film. What must they be going through at that time? मैंने सोचा कि यार ये जो जितने लोग हैं जिनको मैं देखता हूँ कि यार क्या शख्स थे और कितने ब्रेवली ये फिल्म बनाते थे, मैं उनकी बात हमेशा करते रहता हूँ. When will I start being like them?
To stand with a debutant director like Farhan Akhtar and star in the game-changing Dil Chahta Hai and lend such a sensitive and hilarious performance in the form of Akash to the film, both in the same year, was also testament to the range he possessed. He had no qualms of becoming a supporting actor in the legendary Rang De Basanti, and as DJ, he won all our hearts. He took up the role of a director in Tari Zameen Par and starred in the film understanding that the message to be imparted is paramount rather than his presence. In the span of 1 year, Aamir Khan completely transformed himself physically to play the role of Sanjay Singhania in Ghajni and then went on to play a college student in Three Idiots the very next year. If this does not showcase the sheer dedication that the man has for his craft, then I really don't know what will. Backing phenomenal projects in the form of a producer like Peeply Live and Delhi Belly, and going on to do what actors should do, which is transform themselves completely to become characters like in movies like Dangal, the man and his dedication to the job can never be debated. It's indicative of why we see so little of him, because he gives everything to the role he portrays on the big screen. He may have faltered with a movie like Thugs of Hindustan, but I'm sure the man will bounce back in providing us another surprise that leaves us spellbound on how an artist can keep on delivering something new while having such a long and creatively rich career. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below of who according to you is the best actor when it comes to A-list actors of Bollywood. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.
कौन कहता है कि आसमान में छेद नहीं हो सकता? एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछाल के देखो यारो।